If you are a first year teacher, please do your lesson plans so that you're able to use them for the next year. I already know the backward design and where my students need to be by the end of the school year and what they need to know and be able to do. Boom, I got that. After I have planned everything, I now can make my PowerPoints. Hey teammates, welcome to my channel. If you are new here, welcome. For those of you guys who don't know, I am a second year third grade teacher. Yes, I'm heading into my second year. So much fun. And let me tell you guys, I have learned so much since the first year that I've been teaching. I feel like the first year I was just grabbing for straws or like picking stuff up as I went, just trying to survive. And now that I know the system and know the procedures and things that are expected of me, I can now implement those things and do it 10 times better this year. So the main thing is with lesson planning. Towards the end of the school year, I really was burnt out from lesson planning and planning all this stuff, and then things getting changed. I was getting super upset, so I low-key slacked off, but it's time to get back on my grind because it's the beginning of the school year. And so I have been batch planning this year, which I think this is something that all teachers need to be doing, because lesson planning every day, it does get draining. And I was doing that last year, and I don't want to say I was burnt out, but I just got tired of doing it repetitively. And so I feel like there is an easier, more efficient way to do it, and I'm gonna start with that this year. So if you are a math teacher, ELA teacher, social studies, whatever teacher you are, anybody can do this. I'm a third grade ELA teacher, so this example is gonna be mostly geared to ELA, but of course you can switch it and change it to whatever best fits your needs. I had to figure out what I was planning, like how I wanted to plan. My lead last year, she's amazing, shout out to her. She actually left us, which has been really sad, and I've low-key been taking out lesson planning. I'm like, she's not here, I don't want to lesson plan. But of course you have to lesson plan. And actually, I'm a fellow like against lesson plan person or teacher, because I just was like, when I was in college, I didn't see why it was necessary to lesson plan, but now to see when I do have a lesson plan and see when I don't have a lesson plan. And when I was student teaching, I was like, well, I actually need a lesson plan, because like I've said before, if you don't have a plan, then your students will have one for you, and 9 times out of 10, you don't want to go off of their plan because it's not a good one. So I have found the value of lesson planning and seeing it progress in student growth. Seeing it translate in student growth. When I plan well, students learn well, and so on and so forth. It's like a domino effect, and my days run smoother because my goal is for my students to be wore out by the end of the day with their brains and just having so much fun learning that like they're tired when they go home, not me. So yeah, going back to how I decided to lesson plan this year is by weeks. I know some of you guys may have already been doing this, but I was doing it day by day, but I feel like batching it all together makes it more simple for me and my brain, and I'm not burning myself out. I've thought about my lessons in quarters, and seeing how lessons progress. I already know the backward design and where my students need to be by the end of the school year and what they need to know and be able to do. Boom, I got that. The next thing is, how am I gonna break that into little chunks? And of course, schools are breaking out into quarters, so I can show you guys actually. So you see right here where it says quarter 1, 2, 3, and 4. So you get to pick what works best for you. And this just makes sense in my brain, so of course do whatever makes sense in your brain. But once you click on the quarter, you're then able to see 1, 2, 3, and 4. So I'm batch planning for 4 weeks. Right now I have 2 already done, and then I have to do 2 more. When I go to create my my student materials, based off these lessons, I can already give them a packet instead of 1 paper at a time daily, which was a lot of work, because when students were not here, I didn't know what they were missing, and like vocab words, writing assignments, or how to catch them up, because I didn't have a full packet. So this year I'm having a full packet. I was still able to catch them up, needless to say, but it just took a lot of more energy and effort. And again, as teachers, we don't have as much energy and effort, especially when we're devoting all of our time to our kids. So how can we make this as efficient as possible? That's the key here, making it as efficient as possible. So what I've chosen to do is break it up into weeks. And then after those 4 weeks, then every 4 weeks there's progress reports coming out or report cards coming out. Every 4 weeks their child is getting notified about their child's data or where they're at, about their grades essentially. After these 4 weeks, okay, I know where I'm at. They get a new packet, boom, of whatever my core curriculum is, for example. So a few months ago, during my first year of teaching, I was trying to plan each thing at a time. Like for example, I would sit down and plan one whole day. And that wasn't working for me because I would forget where I had left off or where I was supposed to be. Like I was doing a review that should have been a lesson. So just things like that to go ahead and nip that in the bud and not have that happen this year. I have 4 preps that I have to plan for. I make a plan, and then what I love about Google Drive and not having paper copy lesson plans is that you can make a copy of it and then change for the next day. So for example, the first 2 days are like going over routines and procedures and just getting acclimated to students. And then I am doing some curriculum that day as well. But this is an example of what my drive looks like once my lessons are in there. And as you can see, some of them look very similar because I am doing the same I'm doing the same like objectives and units. It's just the next day. Okay, so in my district, I start off with module 0. And in module 0, that's the first thing I teach is that module. I have 4 different things going on in my literacy block. For the first prep of my literacy block, I have Win Wisdom. The second one is Haggerty, and then Foundations, and then I teach small groups. So I have to prepare every day for those 4 things. And of course, they have different components to them. So my module, which is what my curriculum what my district decided to use for curriculum, that has to go first and foremost, of course. And then I can get into what week I'm doing for Haggerty. Usually that doesn't have to be scripted out because it's already scripted out. Like the Haggerty book is like word for word. So I just have to put what week I'm doing. And I also like to leave a space here to write down or fill in the blanks, like which students may need extra support, whether it's blending, segmenting, or tapping other sounds. And then for Foundations, what week and day I'm in is most important. And guys, I get to teach cursive this year. I'm super excited about that. This is actually a different level than I taught last year. I just realized that last year I was having too many components and I was sending stuff home for homework that I thought my students would be able to do, but it wasn't getting back to me and things like that. So I then decided to go ahead and do that as my independent practice. So the first few weeks we're reviewing, of course, but then I'm still gonna be explicitly teaching. It's just in a different format. So, with different content in it. So after I teach my Foundations, then I'm able to break into small groups. And for my small groups, I like to have 3 rotations. I have found that me as a teacher, if I get above those rotations, then it's just really hard for me to manage, my students to manage, and make sure everybody's on task and doing what they're able to do. I think somebody did request a video on small group as well, so I'll probably do that later on. But for my small group rotations, like I was saying, there's 3 different levels, and sometimes I don't have to pull them all day every day, but the ones that need it and the ones that get like extra time or supplemental services, things like that, I'm able to pull them like as I'm teaching whole group, because in my classroom arrangements, you guys will see how I'm doing it this year. I'm actually super excited to decorate my classroom this year and just to go ahead and get in. Even though I'm taking every bit of summer that I can, I'm looking forward to creating my classroom. But how this is gonna work out for my small groups, one of them are with me, practicing an explicit skill. One group is with me, the next group is, they have online personalized learning computer time, and then the next group is doing an independent practice worksheet. Or I will have someone push in this year. I'm so excited about that as well. Someone to push in with independent practice, because yes, I could teach them how to be on topic all day long, but just having another physical body, more professional in the room that is certified, as a certified teacher as well, like it's gonna be amazing, like a breath of fresh air, to be honest. So those are my 4 preps. So after I make this list, after I make my daily plans, I'll show you guys. So essentially this is my first prep. This will be my second prep. Okay, so on that one daily plan, like for example, this is day 3 of the school year, and then I put the day's date. Actually, I didn't do that last year, which I'm like regretting that I didn't do it, because that would have saved me a lot of time this year. If you are a first year teacher, please do your lesson plans so that you're able to use them for the next year. For the most part, I am definitely able to use what I had last year. I'm just tweaking it and making sure that it fits the students' needs that I have this year. But that is a key to staying in your same grade, same content level. Like that's definitely a pro. Everybody lesson plans differently. Of course, some schools make you write out everything or script out everything. Other schools, I know when I was student teaching, once they saw that I was able to teach correctly, I was able to switch to bullet points, and my mentor teacher was able to check those to make sure I was doing correctly and still meeting the students' needs and objectives. Yeah, so after I have all those preps, depending on how you like to teach, then after you have the scripted out, because admin can look at this, your leads can look at this, and it just makes plain sense for everybody. I like to lesson plan and batch lesson plan in graphs. So I have everything that I need, like all the components of my lesson plan, I have them here, and then I can go and switch them out whenever I need to, like the objective, land, the wrap, the learn, the we do, the welcome, everything that my admin is looking for. Like I have all the components on here, but then I just make copies and then change it for that day, like 15 times to see what my students are doing exactly for the day. I actually tried to put everything like a whole week on one slide, and it confused me. And to be honest, it was very overwhelming. I have found that this works best for me, and I know that it'll be easy to keep up with, because when I sit down maybe 2 times a month instead of every day, I'm able to see, okay, this is what I did for the last 15 days. How can I continue that? Make 15 copies, put the correct dates on them, and then change exactly what I'm doing for that day and that week, so that I'm not constantly lesson planning every day. So contractually, you are supposed to have a planning period. Now, what you actually get done in that planning period is you really don't get a lesson plan. I hope at your school you do, but at mine I wasn't, because there's so many like little behavior things, or students had to make up work. It was just everything except for what I needed to be doing was stopping me from lesson planning. So to cut down on the amount of time, energy, and effort I have to do it, of course I put effort into it, full-blown effort into it, but it's just condensed. I've been reading the book Atomic Habits and talked about habit stacking, and like once you get into a zone of your focus, go ahead and do multiple of that task so that you don't have to get back in that focus mindset again. Or if you know this is a habit for you and you're creating this habit, how can you pair it with something you like if lesson planning is not your thing? Check out Atomic Habits. It's a really good book, and I've definitely learned a lot from that book. After I have planned everything, I now can make my PowerPoints. In making my daily PowerPoints, it was a task for sure. I am now stacking my PowerPoints as well, making sure that everything flows throughout the day. But if I already taught something, or we've been reviewing this for 2 weeks, I can then delete that slide, or make a copy of it and then delete that slide for the next day, the next day, the next day, so that I'm not constantly making different PowerPoints each day for each prep. Batch planning may look different for you. It may be 10 lessons, it may be 20, 15, however much you can do in one sitting and one amount of time, just to go ahead and knock it out. But make sure you are hitting everything that your school is asking you to hit, like all the objectives and everything that your school wants you to have in your lessons. After I've created my 15 lessons, I can then create a student document of all the worksheets that I'll be doing, all the notes or note catchers that I want them to follow along with my PowerPoint. Because of course, I can plan all day long, but if I'm not able to interact with students, or they're not able to follow along with my learning, then that's gonna be a problem. And so I like to make my PowerPoints interactive and have them fill in the blank. Or if I have I do, we do, you do in a lesson, I then want them to be able to do the you do right on the sheet. They saw me do one, they saw us do one together, and now they're able to use the notes that were already on the sheet or their previous learning to go ahead and do it all by themselves. Like basically scaffolding, but still staying in their zone of proximal development, if that makes sense. I know that was a lot, but I feel that batch planning, like I truly believe in this, and I'm gonna continue doing it. Maybe we can have a batch planning session like every month, just to make sure that we're not getting burnt out. Teaching is a lot of fun when you're prepared. Your kids know what the expectations are, what to do, and how to follow them. It does make teaching fun and make teaching rewarding, but of course you have to do all the stuff on the back end first before you're able to achieve student success and student learning. But I could talk about this all day long. Tell me how you like to lesson plan down below. What are some things that you do to help lesson planning become easier, or some tips and tricks that your school does that's different from mine. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe down below and leave some questions for my Q&A. I am doing that if I have enough questions, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Peace.